Welcome to Housing ICU. Every Sunday and Thursday, I'm going to give you an update from the trenches, what's happening with the housing and economy in our local area, and as we see it from the trenches as businessmen around the country. There are going to be three groups of people over the coming years. One group is those who are going to be crushed, I hate to say it, by decisions that have been made, economically crushed. There's another group who are going to survive, who are going to hold on, who are going to make ends meet. And there's going to be a third group who will find ways to cause growth and bring growth. And that growth will trickle through the economy to those who have been crushed and to those who are surviving to create another phase, because there's always a way up out of the way down. I'd like to look at those three groups each Sunday and each Thursday with you, so don't miss the updates as they come each week. Every Monday and every Saturday, I'm also going to give you an update on specific factual data on what's happening in the housing market throughout the state of California. Businesses and GSEs have the same issue. There are going to be businesses and GSEs who also will be crushed, and others that will survive, and others that will grow, and they are all right now thinking of those three strategies. So I want to focus over these minutes on those three aspects. The help aspect, which is the way business and GSEs are responding to the people who are in crisis. And then the survive aspect, which has a lot to do with liquidity. And third, the growth aspect, which is strategies to go forward. And I want to bring you up to date with things that have happened over the prior week and changes, because you're going to see dramatic changes week on week on week, particularly driven from the government through GSEs and from them to businesses, because businesses react according to what stimulus is going to be available. We all know about the CARES Act. The CARES Act currently has allowed 3.5 million or more, about 10,000 people a day, to go into forbearance on their mortgages. And what's happened as a result of the CARES strategy, there is a lot of confusion. Obviously, 3.5 million people went into forbearance and understood enough. But now there's a lot of confusion about what will happen, and particularly what will happen when the 180-day plus 180-day period is over. How will I pay back that money? Millions of Americans are wondering, how will I pay back? Now, this week there was some significant development on this issue. There was a lot of misinformation from services. There was a lot of information, frankly, from local lenders all over the nation in all of the states. Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac issued very clear statements this week saying to all borrowers are not required to repay in one sum. Super important. Also, it is not allowed to report your mortgage as late. So those who are scaring you, saying your credit's going to be ruined, that's really bad, because once you create panic, homeowners then panic en masse. A scandal is created online, and that causes collapse. Nobody wants that to happen. So correct information is really important. CARES, this program here, does not specify how the forbearance monies have to be repaid. And so in there, many create fear. Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae CEOs both made a joint statement this week, and they said, we want every homeowner who is struggling because of the pandemic to know they have options. We do not require a homeowner to repay missed payments all at once. So in brief, on this issue right now, this is the help issue for those who are in crisis, who literally have to choose between mortgage and food. Okay? There are three choices that are going to happen at this point. One, lenders, services will allow repayment plan, which is gradual repayment plus the monthly payment. Or secondly, a payment deferral, which means a modification of the payment without a modification of the loan. This is an issue that Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac brought up this week. And third, of course, in some instances where there isn't a return to work and there isn't the ability to carry on the mortgage, in that instance, there will be a modification process put in place. Do we know all of this right now? No. Is it complex? Yes. But here's the point. It is not to the benefit of you or me or the United States or lenders or services or the government that there be panic. Therefore, a communication of information, how to get yourself out of that crisis place where you feel crushed, where you feel beaten down. To get out of that, it's very important that the correct information is brought forward. Fannie Mae's in on that, Freddie Mac's in on that, and the lenders also need to be on that once they get over the fear cycle. All right, let's go to the second part. So we talk about those being crushed, the help that is available. Now what about the surviving aspect? So this week was also very, very important with the GSEs. The GSEs had their SEC filing, which they're responsible to do, that they have to report what's happening for the shareholders in their companies. This is all about liquidity. If you remember back to 6 and 7 and 8, banks sold off properties for nothing because they didn't have money. There was no liquidity. And the same with government organizations. So liquidity is really important. Fannie Mae, in their filing, said this week. If a large number of borrowers do not pay their mortgage as a result of COVID-19, our services may not have sufficient liquidity to advance the missed payments to mortgage-backed securities trusts. In such a case, we will be required to make the payments, this is Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, which could require us to obtain substantial additional funding. Freddie Mac said, we had $1.2 billion in provision for credit losses in the first quarter, but the estimates are subject to significant uncertainty and may increase substantially in the future. So the whole issue here is that Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac recognize liquidity is the key issue. So liquidity is what we need to look for in the news. Liquidity where the government participates in the GSEs who provide liquidity in the housing, in the mortgage business. If that liquidity is not there, not only do you see the services collapse who are servicing our loans, but also money is not there for lenders to lend to borrowers. Therefore, it's much more difficult to grow. Now let's talk about the growth aspect. The housing sector is seen as a key to come out of any recession, to come out of any economic crisis. The housing sector is a key because of the amount of money involved, the amount of people involved, the number of jobs involved. And once again, for growth to happen, it is so important to create order and not panic. So the banks and the GSEs are looking at this growth area. It doesn't do Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac any good. If they're so on the defensive, there's no opportunity to release money into the marketplace so that lenders can lend, borrowers can borrow, and those who are doing well, even in a difficult economy, can buy property. So we saw over the last few weeks, largely due to Dr. Calabria, who's the head of FHFA, he made some statements and initiated some underwriting policies that really scared lenders. And lenders ran for the hills. They suddenly said you can only borrow if it's 80% loan to value. They put what are called overlays on the loans. You have to have a FICO score of 700 or more. We're not going to fund down payment assistance and so on and so forth. That was a knee-jerk reaction, and it's very, very important now that we watch together what Dr. Calabria does, what the FHFA does in terms of restoring confidence among lenders. Now, the panic has subsided with some lenders, not all. You can now get down payment assistance. You can fund FHA. You can fund 3% down loans. You can fund VA loans. But we need to get all the lenders on board that their confidence factor comes back. For their confidence factor to come back, the Federal Housing Finance Authority has to step in and, shall I say, ease some of the underwriting restrictions that have been put in place over the last weeks. Look, this is a complicated picture, but bottom line, there are going to be three groups of people. One, those who are crushed, and we all need to stand by those who are crushed and help them get back on their feet. Second, those who survive and hold on. Definitely we need to hold on over the coming months and years, but I hope you do better than that. I hope that we're able to grow as we look for opportunity in crisis. Every Sunday, Every Thursday, I'm going to give you a housing ICU update from the trenches and let you know what's going on. Don't miss it. And I want to encourage you to look below and look at our housing crisis videos so you can stay up to date what's happening in the trenches as we once again start to rebuild our American dream. Thanks for watching.